Good morning. Today's UG Clinics is about glaucoma. Going to the definition of glaucoma, glaucoma is not a single disease process, but it is a group of disorders. It is characterized by characteristic appearance of the optic disc and specific pattern of irreversible visual field effects and associated with the raised IOP. IOP is the most common risk factor, but it is not the only risk factor for the development of glaucoma. The classification of glaucoma is a clinico-etiological classification, and it is divided into congenital, primary adult glaucomas and secondary glaucomas. Congenital or the developmental glaucomas are primary congenital glaucomas and developmental glaucomas. Primary adult glaucomas are primary open angle glaucomas, primary angle closure glaucomas and primary mixed mechanism glaucomas. As we are concerned with the primary adult glaucomas, the picture here shows the type of open angle glaucoma and the angle closure to glaucoma. So the angle is between the iris and the cornea, and in the first picture it is showing the open angle, and in the second picture the iris is coming close towards the cornea and it is showing the closed angle. Firstly, we'll be discussing about the primary open-angle glaucoma, and as the name suggests, primary open-angle glaucoma is also known as chronic simple glaucoma of adult onset, and it is characterized by the following, that is slowly progressive raised intraocular pressure, which is measured on two or more different occasions, and it has to be more than 21 millimeters of mercury when recorded, and an open normal appearing anterior chamber angle, and there is a characteristic optic disc cupping, and there are specific visual fields. There will be some predisposing and risk factors for this, and the risk factors primarily includes intraocular pressure, which is the most important risk factor, and if there is any family history, that is a risk factor, and age, as it increases with age, it is more common in fifth and seventh decades, and it is more common in blacks compared to that of white people, and myopes are more predisposed than the normal individuals. Central corneal thickness measurements also gives us whether the IOP is underestimated or overestimated by the applanation tonometer. Diabetics have a higher prevalence of POAG than non-diabetics. Cigarette smoking is associated with the risk of primary open-angle glaucoma, and there are certain patients called as corticosteroid responsiveness, where patients with POAG and their offsprings or any siblings of them, they are more likely to respond to the 6 weekly topical steroid therapy, and that response is increase in the IOP. The symptoms of the open-angle glaucoma includes first, they might present asymptomatically, so periodic evaluation of the patients is required, and they might present with the headache, and they'll be presenting with eye ache or pain around the eyebrows, and usually there will be high intraocular pressure as we measure with the applanation tonometer. There will be narrowing of the visual fields, so there will also be deterioration in the ability to see at the dusk, and the patients will also complain of deterioration of the vision for near and also for close work. So this occurs because due to the accommodative failure as a constant pressure on the ciliary muscle and its nerve supply. There will be delayed dark adaptation, which may also develop sometimes in the patients, and there will be significant visual loss at the last stages, and we can also see colored halos or rainbow which is present around the objects. At the last stages, we can see the atrophy of the optic nerve. On slit lamp examination, the anterior chamber is normal initially and the pupil is reacting sluggishly and there is hazy cornea. And the IOP is not raised continuously, rather it is showing the diurnal variations. So there is repeated observations of this IOP over 24 hours will be giving us the correct measurement of the IOP changes. And this test is called as the diurnal variation test, and the most patients IOP falls during the evening, so contrary to which happens in the angle closure glaucoma. So the IOP, if it is raised for more than 5 millimeters, it is suspicious, and more than 8 millimeters raised is diagnostic of glaucoma. So it is measured using the Short's tonometer. So there will be optic disc changes, and this optic disc changes will be divided into the early glaucomatous changes, advanced glaucomatous changes, and the optic atrophy, which is glaucomatous optic atrophy. So early glaucomatous changes will suspect the glaucoma if the following things are present. That is vertically oval disc if vertically oval cup if it is present, and asymmetry of the cups, that is if the say difference of more than zero point 0.2 is present between the two eyes. Then if it is a large cup, that is zero point 0.6 or more, and splinter hemorrhages if they are present on or near the optic disc margin, and if there are any paler areas on the disc, or if there is any atrophy of retinal nerve fiber layer which may be seen with the red free light. In the advanced glaucomatous changes in the optic disc, we'll be seeing that there is a marked cupping. That is, the cup size is between zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9. Usually, the cup size is zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.4, and in the early glaucomatous changes, it will be raised to zero point 0.6. Now, the cup size in the advanced glaucomatous changes will be around zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9. So, there will be even excavation which will even reach in the disc margins, and the sides are steep and they are not shelving. Then there will be thinning of the neuroretinal rim, and this occurs in these advanced stages, and there will be seen as keratic shadow adjacent to the disc margin. And there will be nasal shifting of the vessels, which have the appearance of being broken off at the margin. So this sign is called as the bayonetic sign. So there will be pulsations of the retinal arterioles which you will be seen at the disc margins, and this is the pathognomic sign of the glaucoma, and it indicates that the IOP is very high. And there is a lamellar dot sign, that is the pores in the lamina cribrosa are slit shaped and they will be visible up to the margin of the disc. So as the glaucoma advances, we can see that there will be glaucomatous optic atrophy, that is damage to the neural tissue of the disc, and the optic nerve, it appears white and it is deeply excavated. The picture here shows the fundus photo, and left side picture shows the normal fundus photo. This is the normal fundus photo, and the right side one shows the fundus photo in a glaucomatous patient. So in the left side the optic disc is normal, whereas in the right eye the right side picture the optic disc is pale and it has a deep cup, that is the cup is increased in diameter, and the diameter of the cup is around zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.7. Visual field defects in glaucoma includes isooptic contraction, barring of the blind spot, small wing-shaped paracentral scotoma, cedal scotoma, arcuate of Gerom's area, ring or double arcade scotoma, Raynaud's central nasal step, peripheral field defects, and advanced glaucomatous field defects. The picture here shows the different field effects present in the glaucoma, and the first picture, it shows the barring of the blind spot. This one is the barring of the blind spot which is shown here. Then the second picture, it is showing the temporal wedge which is developing. After which we can see that there is Gerom's scotoma. This one is the Jerem scotoma, which we can see in the C picture, and after that we can see that there is a development of the ring-shaped scotoma in the lower picture and complete development of the ring scotoma. After the ring scotoma develops in all the quadrants, we can see only the tunnel vision. So the vision is only tunnel vision, sparing the central part of the visual field. And in H, the last figure, we can see that there is complete visual field loss. The primary open-angle glaucoma is sometimes associated with high myopia, Fuchs endothelial dystrophy, retinitis pigmentosa, and central retinal vein occlusion, and primary retinal detachment. So, here coming to the investigations which we do in the primary open-angle glaucoma, the first one is the tonometry. So, the tonometry, usually what we do in the tonometry is applanation tonometry or Short's tonometry, and in the tonometry, applanation tonometry is preferred over the Short's tonometry. The second test which we do is central corneal thickness, and this measurement is essential in the workup of the glaucoma because thinner cornea will underestimate and the thicker cornea will overestimate the IOP on an applanation tonometry. So next one is the diurnal variation test, and it is very useful in the detection of the early cases as we have already seen. Next test is gonioscopy, and this gonioscopy will reveal wide open angle of the anterior chamber, and its primary importance in primary open angle glaucoma is to rule out the other forms of glaucoma. Next test is the slit lamp examination, and as we see, the slit lamp examination is to see the anterior segment to rule out the other causes of the secondary open angle glaucoma. So perimetry is also done, and the perimetry is to detect the visual field effects. The next test is the nerve fiber layer analyzer, that is recently introduced device, and it helps in detecting the glaucomatous damage to the retinal nerve fibers before the appearance of the actual visual field changes. And other tests are the provocative tests, and those provocative tests will commonly include the water drinking test, tonography, Prescoline test, and caffeine test. In this, the water drinking test is usually preferred, and it is based on the theory that the glaucomatous eyes have a greater response to water drinking. So in it, after 8 hours of fast, baseline IOP is noted, and the patient is asked to drink 1 liter of water, and following which IOP is noted every 15 minutes. That is done for 1 hour. So maximum rise of IOP occurs in 15 to 30 minutes, and it returns to the baseline over 60 minutes in both normal and glaucomatous eyes. Rise of over 8 millimeters of mercury or more is said to be the diagnostic of primary open angle glaucoma. Coming to the management, the aim of the glaucoma treatment is to lower the IOP to levels that permit normal functioning of the optic nerve and prevent the further damage. So there will be different mechanisms of different drugs, and the mechanisms include reducing the aqueous production in the ciliary body, promoting aqueous humor outflow through the trabecular meshwork, and promoting aqueous humor outflow through the uveoscleral pathway. So the principles of the therapy include identification of the target pressure, single rep therapy, combination therapy, and monitoring of the therapy. There will be different treatment choices, and first comes the medical management, after which is argon diode laser trabeculoplasty and filtration surgeries. Coming to the medical management, we classify the anti-glaucoma drugs into different categories, and these are the beta blockers, adrenergic agonists, prostaglandin analogs, cholinergic agents, and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Systemic drugs includes carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and the osmotic agents. The beta blockers are the first drug of choice in POIG, which lowers the IOP by reducing the aqueous secretion due to their effect on beta 2 receptors. There will be different beta blockers. Non-selective beta 1 and beta 2 blockers are the timolol, levobunolol, metoprolol, and cartiolol. Selective beta 1 blockers are betaxolol, pindolol, and metoprolol. Mechanism of action of the beta blockers is that they antagonize the effect of the catecholamines, thus they reduce the production of the aqueous. Timolol is a beta blocker which is commonly used agent, and it is non-selective beta blocker. There will be several adverse effects of the beta blockers, which include the cardiovascular side effects, which are hypotension, bradycardia, Raynaud's phenomenon, gastrointestinal side effects like diarrhea, nausea, pulmonary side effects like bronchoconstriction and bronchospasm, asthma and dyspnea, the dermatological problems, and central nerve. So the next group of drugs are the adrenergic agonists, and their mode of action is decreasing aqueous formation by constricting the ciliary blood vessels and increasing the uveoscleral outflow by an increase in the prostaglandin synthesis. The most commonly used adrenergic agonists are the alpha-2 selective agonists, which are apraclonidine and brimonidine. Other drugs include epinephrine, dipinephrine, and phenylephrine. The side effects of these drugs include dry mouth, fatigue, drowsiness, headache, and the ocular side effects include allergy, contact dermatitis, blurred vision, burning and stinging sensation in the eyes, follicular conjunctivitis, photophobia, and cholinergic drugs are the next group of drugs, and their mechanism of action is contraction of the iris sphincter so that they constrict the pupil, that is miosis is caused, and constriction of the longitudinal fibers of the ciliary muscles which open the trabecular meshwork, and contraction of the circular fibers of ciliary muscles, relaxing the zonular tension on the lens equator. Pilocarpine is the most commonly used cholinergic drug which is commonly used, and the indications of the cholinergic drugs include acute and chronic narrow angle glaucoma, open angle glaucoma, and for prophylaxis of the primary angle closure glaucoma. We see the next group as prostaglandin analogs, and they are usually originally discovered in the eyes as mediators of the ocular inflammatory response. Usually, the prostaglandin analogs are the prodrugs, and they are converted to the active compounds by the corneal esterases. The mechanism of action of the prostaglandin analogs is that they increases the uveoscleral outflow. Examples of the prostaglandin analogs include the latanoprost, travoprost, and the bimato. Indications of the prostaglandin analogs are primary open-angle glaucoma, normal tension glaucoma, chronic closed-angle glaucoma, pigment dispersion syndrome, and exfoliation glaucoma. Usually, there are contraindications like allergy, pregnancy, and nursing mothers, children, uveitic glaucoma, immediate post-operative period. Usually, they cause hyperpigmentation of the eyelashes and the iris and periorbital skin. They cause allergy and the anterior uveitis. Systemic side effects include occasional headaches, skin rash, and upper respiratory tract infections. The carbonic anhydrase inhibitors inhibit the enzyme carbonic anhydrase and then reduce aqueous humus production and then lowers the IOP. The carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are acetazolamide, dorzolamide, brinzolamide. The systemic carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are acetazolamide, and the topical drugs which we give usually are the dorzolamide and the brinzolamide. Acetazolamide is given oral or IV preparation which decreases the IOP by 15 to 20%. Side effects of the acetazolamide are that they cause numbness and tingling of the extremities and the perioral region. Ocularly, they cause transient myopia. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are contraindicated in some conditions like, say, clinically significant liver disease, severe chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and certain kinds of secondary glaucomas and renal diseases, including kidney disease and pregnancy. The ocular side effects includes that they are induced myopia, stinging sensation in the eyes, keratitis, conjunctivitis, and dermatitis. Systemic side effects includes they are oral CAI, but they are less likely to cause the side effects and contraindications of these include that the patient who is known to have hypersensitivity to sulfonamide group of drugs. Next comes hyperosmotic agents. The hyperosmotic agents are IV and oral. IV hyperosmotic agents are mannitol and urea, and oral drugs are glycerol and isosorbide. Their mechanism of action is that they increase blood osmolarity. Osmotic gradient between blood and vitreous is increased and water is drawn out of the vitreous. Hyperosmotic agents are mannitol, which is usually used, and that is 20% solution of 1 to 2 gram per kg over 20 minutes is given. They have gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, CNS, renal, and other side effects. These are the single drug therapies. There will be combination therapies, and if one drug is not sufficient to control the IOP, then combination therapy with two or more drugs is usually tried. Then monitoring of therapy is done by disc changes, field changes, and tonometry, which is most essentially done on regular follow-ups. The argon diode laser trabeculoplasty is done in patients where the IOP is uncontrolled despite there is maximum medical therapy. Surgical therapy is usually indicated in uncontrolled glaucoma patients despite maximal medical therapy, or there is any non-compliance of the medical therapy, or if there is any failure of the medical therapy, and eyes with advanced disease. And the types of surgeries include trabeculectomy, which is the most frequently performed filtration surgeries nowadays.
At the end of the session, we have the questionnaire, and the first question reads that what are the characteristics of the primary open-angle glaucoma? Second question, what are the early glaucomatous changes seen in the optic disc? Third is name different visual field defects seen in primary open-angle glaucoma. Fourth question, what are the different drugs used for the management of glaucoma?
So the primary open-angle glaucoma is discussed in this clinics. Thank you.